Following in the footsteps of the most popular synth of all time, I think, I haven't fact checked that. It's finally here. Is it worth the hype? Serum 2, the hotly awaited powerhouse synth from Xfer Records. It's also completely free, by the way, to upgrade, which I think is pretty cool. Let's take a look and see what's new. So what jumps out immediately is that you've got now 3 oscillators, A, B, and C. So they've added in an extra one. As you can see, the GUI is pretty similar to the previous one. There's just a few more bells and whistles added. Sub oscillator here, oscillator A, B, and C. Then you've got the noise, which used to be down there. And you've got filter 1 and you've got a second filter. So that's really cool. They've added in a second filter. Along the top here, you've got oscillators. You've also got a mix section. So you've now got a place where you can balance all your sound sources in more detail. What's great about this is there are buses now. So rather than just sending something to main effects, you can go to a bus instead, or 2 separate buses. The effects, as we'll see later on, they've added a few new ones. Matrix is fairly similar to what it was before. And global settings fairly similar to what they were before. In terms of the macros, you've got an extra 4 that you didn't have before. Envelopes, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And the cool thing about the envelopes is you can also do them to BPM now, not just milliseconds. So you can tempo sync with your DAW. So by default, there's 6 LFOs, but if you get through them, you can add another 4, I believe, and take it up to 10. So there's a couple more modes that you can look at here as well in the LFOs. So you can do a chaos ones. They're pretty cool, sample and hold. The drawing capabilities are a bit better in this as well. Cool thing is that there's clip feature has been added, so you can now play clips. So Serum now has a built-in piano roll. It looks a lot like Fruity Loops. I got very terrified for a minute. Just joking, Fruity Loops users. You can just double click and draw in there, and you can put automation as well. So if you have some notes, you can control the velocity. You can add in other expressions and do automation in here. That's pretty cool. And there's loads of different clips presets in here. So you can go through some clip presets already programmed in for you. So that's the clip section. We'll dive into that in a bit more detail. So you've got an ARP as well, an arpeggiator. So you can do a whole load more. You can arpeggiate chords. This really takes Serum up a notch. You've got different patterns, different playback modes. So a lot going on. Okay, so that was a quick overview. Now let's have a look in it a little bit more detail. So now let's cycle through some presets so that you can get a feel for what's going on. Let's just start with some ARPs. What you can do now is you can hover over certain parameters in Serum, and if you use the mouse wheel, it will allow you to scroll through. So that's really helpful for these wavetables that you can see I'm doing. I'm just scrolling my mouse wheel and it's going through them like crazy. Anyway, so let's look at some presets. Let's go over to the browser, which has been improved. You can also see in a lot more detail. So you've got all the different categories here. You've got different tags down here. You can also preview them, which is pretty cool. That's really nice. And even on your old ones as well, which were in Serum 1. Okay, so they start here. So let's just scroll through, and I'm going to just play them through the clip mode rather than play stuff up so you can hear. It's nice. Okay, bass ones, not blown away. Let's go for a few bells. Nice. There's so many to go through. Let's try some leads. That's nice. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's try some different ones. Let's try some loops. It's interesting. Nice. That's cool. That's weird. I like that. Yeah, some of these loops are cool. I like these a lot. Awesome. So those loops, what else we got? Let's try some sequences. I always like a sequence. Making use of the arpeggiator there. That's lovely. Love that lush reverb. Yeah, nice. Really nice. Cool effect. Very clean. Yeah, nice acid. That's cool. A lot of these sounds just make me want to play around with it. It's actually about my third attempt making this video, but I've kept getting lost in the sounds and forgetting that I'm supposed to be doing a video. So that's a good sign of a good synth. Okay, enough of that. What else we got? Let's try some Vox. Yeah, okay, still that classic kind of synthesized vocal sound. They always sound quite synthesized, like a bit cheesy, innit? That's cool. Like that granular stuff coming in that you can see over there. We'll get into that in more detail in a sec. Hello. Yeah, I like that. It's moody. Great texture. Yeah, that'd be lovely. Very cinematic. Okay, I like that one. I'm going to save that for later. So what you can do actually is come to these presets and you can give them a ranking. So I've got a 5-star there now. Cool. Okay, so now let's go a little bit deeper into everything that's new. We've done an overview, we've had a play on some presets. So now let's jump in and go deeper into the oscillators. You obviously know Serum is a wavetable synth. Well, it was just a wavetable synth, but now it is also a multi-sampler. So you've got some multi-sample instruments in here. So you can basically choose some instruments, real instruments that have been recorded and have been sampled over multiple different layers. So there's different recordings for each kind of segment here, which will make it sound a bit more realistic. That's really nice, and you can change the envelope here if you want to. You can play around it by going override. I'm not going to do that, but if you want to change the envelope of the sounds, you've got your normal octave, semitones, fine tuning, coarse tuning there. You can change the timbre in here, which is quite cool. So you can change the pitch. You've got detuning and the unison, so you can mess around it like that, blend the voices. And what's also great in the oscillators, now you have the warp function, which, yes, you already had, but you have 2 warp functions, so you can warp the sound twice, which is really awesome if you ask me, because you can do some really interesting stuff. So let's turn on. You've got all these different modes, by the way, so you can choose filter, distortion, frequency modulation. You've got PD, pitch distortion. I don't know, I need to look that up. Perfect dark. Amp modulation and ring modulation, and you can swap the warps from A to B. So let's just choose something. Let's go for a distortion. Let's rectify it. Cool. And now let's turn on a second one. Let's filter it. Let's go low pass. Bring up the warp. So you get the idea. You've now got multi-sample, and this plays sound fonts, which I didn't realize people were still using, but apparently they are. SFZ, so you can load those in. There's lots of libraries online of sound fonts, so you can bring them in, load your own. But yeah, there's a whole load of different ones in here. Okay, so yeah, that's multi-sample mode. You've also got sample mode, so you can just drag in a sample or you can use a sample that's already here. There you go, 808. And what I love about this is that you can, let's turn that off a sec. So you can change this scan here, so you can either have it go forward, play the sample forward at 2 speeds, at normal speeds, and then you can go backwards as well. So just by changing the scan rate to -100. There we go, it's quite light. It's probably not the best sound to use on a demonstration. There we go. So you can scan it, you can change the direction, you can do the detuning of the unison like we did before. Blending, you've got the warp modes the same again. You've got these different modes. You've got one shot, you can do a forward loop. And then you can change the loop section here, which is really cool. So, and then if you hear it start to click a little bit, you can turn on the crossfade so it won't do that as much. You can change the start and the end point here of the loop or drag it around. Get that cool effect that goes like this. Which is always cool. And that is the sampler mode. Get onto the good stuff. You've got granular. So Serum now has a granular synthesizer built in. That's when you see all this weird stuff happening. So the way that granular synthesis works is that it kind of splits up the audio into loads of these tiny little grains, and then it allows you to reprocess those grains. So you can change the order of them, you can add random pitch, you can add random length to these, you can pan them in different directions. So you can do some really cool stuff with granular synthesis. So let's see what we can do. Let's put it back on one shot. Still got the scan here. Change the density. I think it's actually the number of grains that are generated, so higher is more. Length. Let's turn this up. Let's choose a better sample. Okay, there we go. Okay, we can change the start point as well. So currently on one shot mode, but we could go reverse loop, or I quite like the forward and reverse loop. Let's go back to one shot. Let's move this out. So you've got these controls up here, and then you've got the warp controls if you want to bring them into it. But if you want to use these are all other granular parameters. So you've got offset, so got direction, so whether it's forward or back, pitch, got random pan, random length, random gain. So that all just brings in some randomness factors pretty much into the grains. That's kind of your typical granular sound. Love that, really interesting. So yeah, there's that granular module. And then the final one is spectral. So this kind of splits the sound up into frequencies and then analyzes them in pitch and kind of separates out your harmonic content and noise of what makes up a sound so that you can then play around with it. So up here you've got your filters, so you can kind of filter out higher frequencies or lower. So it's currently on one shot, and the scan, once again choosing the direction and the speed. Let's turn it down a bit. So in here you can add a filter, so you can do your own shapes like this. You can see you've made a high pass, low cut, and you can do some random stuff, and it's going to filter out the sounds. Or what you can do is you can use the presets, click there, factory, and then let's go behind glass. You've got a weird one, and then you can move that. And then that's the mix, so how much of that filter is active. You can also put it on loop mode, same as the others. And then what's cool is when you have this spectral mode active, you can then go into the warp modes and you'll have some new ones. You've got spectral here. So you've got a load of different modes for specifically for this spectral oscillator. So subharmonics, they're really nice. Adding some real depth there. Some really freaky stuff in here. I definitely recommend checking out these. Really, really cool. Love the granular. Let's go back to the wavetable for now and let's move on. So same as before, you've got the sub as well, which is pretty much exactly as it was in the previous Serum. So nothing really to talk about there. Oscillator B, same as oscillator A, exactly what we did. And oscillator C, you know, another exactly the same thing. You can have several different ones. There's a whole load of new wavetables though, I should say. You've got S2 tables, so you've got a whole load of new ones basically. Cycle. Just get rid of that sec. We've got noise over here. We've got a few more new noises, S2 noises. So you've got transients for like an 808, let's say. So you could have that on, say, top of a S2 analog 828 kick. Now you've got a kind of 8080 sound. So nice transient there. We've got loads of different ones, blips. I like that cicadas one. That's cool. And something I like about this, you can have it in one shot mode or loop mode. So just one shot, or killers in the jungle. Something like that. What was that? Skrillex. But anyway, the noise, pretty much the same as Serum 1, but with a few extra noises added in. So the next big feature really is the filters. So there's now 2 of them, which is amazing because I always felt like it could have done with a second filter. So let's take our sound, got cutoff. So we need to send it there. So currently they're not there. So let's send it there. So what we can do is we can come to this mix tab. And if we go to main filter, and let's go filter, and now they should both be going to filter 1. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we use this mix to basically control where we want to send things. So we went filter, but you could go to the main, direct, or none. Or you can send it to buses down here. So if you want to have some special effects on just a bus, then you can do that there, or bus 2. You can pan the sounds too, which is cool, which you could do before, but it's just quite nice to see it in this mixer window here. Let's go back to the oscillators. So pretty much similar things, sub, A, B, and C oscillators, noise, and key tracking. A few new shapes, S2 filters, so you've got these. So that's like a DJ mixer, high cut, low cut, a little bump. Scream. Diffuser one's nice. Yeah, just a load of different extra filter shapes, and the big thing being that you can add 2. So if I wanted to change how it's being sent from oscillator C here, if I go to F1 here, I can make it and put it in the middle, let's say, and now it's going to both filter 1 and filter 2 equally. So let's put a different one on filter. Let's go for diffuser. Let's do the same for this one so it's going there. We can hear it a bit better. So you get the idea, you've got 2 filters there now. You can also change the level of filter 2 or filter 1, which is quite nice. You can mute it by clicking on the blue light there. And that's essentially the filters, very similar to before. You've just got an extra one and you've got a few new filter shapes. So the macros are exactly the same as before. You've just got 4 new ones. Fairly self-explanatory. Envelopes, pretty much the same as before as well, 1, 2, 3, 4. The only thing being that you've now got this BPM, so rather than being in milliseconds before and you had to kind of control it by milliseconds, what you can do instead is put it to BPM. Now you can have it synced to your host's tempo, so if you want an attack of 1/16, you can set it to 1/16, so you know exactly how long. Say for a kick drum or something, if you're doing sound design, then you can do that. So That's 1/32 long, that attack. So that's quite handy to have. I quite like that addition. I think that's cool. Subtle, but a good thing to have. LFOs. So LFOs, there's a few different modes now in the LFOs. So let's set something up. Let's have a filter. And let's put the LFO on the filter so we can hear it. Bring up the sustain. Okay, cool. So now let's check out these different LFO modes. And as I said before, there's 6 LFOs, but it will go up to 10 once you've exceeded the 6. So let's go from normal and change the path. So I can now move this dot around in path mode and it's going to change the filter around. If I change from custom to, say, booba, you've got some interesting little paths going on now. So we'll actually play out these paths. Very cool, and you can move these around and you can change the direction. Ping pong. So loads of stuff you can do with that. Crazy. Yeah, that's the path mode. They've also got this Lorenz mode. Which is cool. And you've also got this Chaos Rossia. That's awesome. And you've got loads of different rates as per usual. Triplet, dotted, rise and delay the same as before. And you've got sample and hold. Kind of like a random. Yeah, very nice. Okay, so that's the LFOs as well. 6 of them, 10 if you need, and that's pretty much the same. And those new modes are really cool. Like those. And you've got some kind of global settings here. You've got the voicings down here, mono, poly, legato, number of polyphony. And then you've got your glide settings down there, same as before. You've got a keyboard down here. One cool thing you've got is oscillator mapping, so you can actually have different oscillators play depending on different key locations. So if I wanted only oscillator A to come in once you hit that 3rd octave on your keyboard, it currently wouldn't trigger, but that's really cool. So you can do some interesting stuff with that, like just having some bass patches down here and say like sub and oscillator A, and then maybe for B and C you have some other oscillators that are only triggered when you play the higher up notes. That's got a lot of creative possibilities there. So let's just reset that. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Oscillator mapping. You've got swing as well you can bring in. You can also put in a key and scale, which is really nice. And you can transpose. So those are all, I think, are slight new additions, I think, but very handy. So 2 other things down here before we go into the mix and the effects. We're getting through it slowly but surely. The arpeggiator. I love arpeggiators. Before in Serum, I was just using the Logic arpeggiator to go with it, but now that it's built in, that's awesome. So if I play a note now, let's turn it on. It helps. Let's take the filter off for now. So you've got these different modes you can set up. Currently they're all the same, but if I select 2 and then I change the pattern, so let's say I make it down, you'll see that it changes here. And if I change 16th note, I can go to 32nd. Or maybe 8, and I can... Yeah, so you can have up to 12 different patterns in there if you want. If you go to pattern here, then there'll be some presets. And you can actually put in your own pattern up here if you click on that little pencil tool, and there should be some default patterns here. There you go. Trance gate. So that's really cool. So you just click on a new one, and you can mess with these as well. So I can move them up or down and play around with it. You can change different things like the step mode, so only playing chords, which is fairly intense. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And you've also got some automations down here you can do, so you can add in octave chants, let's say. So you've got the factory ones here, if you just want to choose. So yeah, loads you can do in there. Basically, I haven't explored this section yet, so I'm still a bit new to it. Awesome, love that. Let's turn that up off. And let's move over to the clip. So as well as the arpeggiator, you've now got a clip section, so you can play the pattern, but not as an arpeggiation. So if you want to just put in some random notes, you can, or you can use the bank of presets. So if I go to clip 1 down here, go to Blossom, you have to click on it and hit play. And then just stop it, and then if you want to delete stuff, you can go in and double click it, or you can change the length. You can do anything, just edit the MIDI, it's very nice, move it around, and you can come up with your own clip. And once again, you've got loads, so you can have one clip here, play it. Yeah, don't do that. And go to clip settings, let's say, and find a different one, factory. There's loads of different ones you can choose from here, loads per instrument if you like. And you can, yeah, just play them. So that's really cool. And if you like one of these clips, all you have to do to get it into your DAW is just click and drag it in and then drop it. It'll ask if you want the tempo information. You don't have to, but there you go. Now it's in your project. So that's how you can get it out of there. You can also record in your own clips if you want. So let's say I've got this blank one there, 3, I hit record. And hopefully you're better than me because I didn't record that in very well. But you can also then quantize those. And yeah, if you select anything on here and then you right click, you can chop, you can put to a scale, you can force it to legato, mute stuff, quantize stuff, reverse stuff. Yeah, a load of different options in there. So that's also a really powerful tool, the clip editor. So there's some awesome stuff you can do with the clip mode and some awesome stuff you can do with the arpeggiator. That's enough of that for now. Let's go back to the main window. Make sure those are off. Those are both off. Okay. That's the main window covered of all the new key features. I'm sure there's some I've missed because I'm still unpacking it myself as it's only been out a couple of days, but let's keep going. The next new tab is the mix one that we're going to have a look at, and I'm just going to turn on a few extra oscillators and things so that we can see it in action. Let's have everything turned on. Let's have some filters as well. And that's another thing, if you just want to click and drag in the filter, you can to make your own shape. Okay, so now let's head over to the mix tab, and now you can see I've got all of these on, all my sources, my sound sources, my sub, my noise, my oscillators, and if I click on main, and you can see it's kind of subdivided, so you've got sub and then you've got main, so you can choose whether you're changing the filter options or just having it going direct out, or if you want none on filter, you can choose which filter you're sending it to, change the main volume, the panning, and this button down here determines whether its amplitude envelope is controlled by envelope 1 as the main envelope. If not, it's going to choose whatever the longest release time is, so it's kind of a bit more free reign. So let's look at oscillator here. I've got filter turned on, so I can send it either to just filter 1, filter 2, or both, in the middle, or halfway, up to you. And then I've also got these buses here, so if I wanted to send it to bus 1, I just send up bus 1. You can now see it coming through on bus 1. To put some effects on bus 1, we have to do that in the effects tab, which we'll come to in just 1 second. But apart from that, that's the main features of the mix. You can just basically use it like another mixer and just control the levels, which is quite handy. So it's a bit easier just to control everything, route everything all in one place. It's quite nice. You can also pan things left, right if you wanted. Sub, let's keep that there, let's move that to right. You get the idea, it's basically a mixer window for your synth. Okay, so now let's move on to the effects. And you can add in effects here, so you go plus effects, and you've got this new one, Bode, which is a pitch shifter. Very cool, you've got presets now, so factory, you can choose the preset. So this has a delay in it as well. You can blur the sound. The main thing is the shift and range. So if I choose the range, this is currently 1 Hertz, but if I move that up, it's going to shift the pitch, say now in 100 Hertzes. 100 Hertzes. That's just shifting the pitch, it's getting a bit warped. So yeah, this is a Bode filter. So that's the first new one. What else we got? Chorus, compressor, convolve. So convolution reverb. So you can send it through these different cabs or different shapes, so they can be reverbs. So you've got plates and halls and different reverbs. But it can be just stuff like amp cabs. Got a Messer dual rectifier there. So it's like sending it through a different space. That one bypasses it. So that's the convolve. You've got convolution reverb. That wasn't in there before. What else have we got? Flanger, filter, hyper, phaser, reverb. So in the reverbs, I always thought the reverbs were a little bit dodgy. I didn't think they sounded great. So it's nice to see they've added a few more. So there was always the plate and the hall. It's now the vintage, nitrous and basin. Let's just turn that delay off so we can hear it. Hear the reverb more. That's cool. Yeah, the basin's really nice. I like that a lot. Really like the vintage too. So yeah, I think the reverbs have definitely improved for sure. Even feel like the hall's better than it was before. Don't know if it's changed or not, or just I remembering it differently. Okay, and apart from that, most of the effects are the same, but there is this cool thing now. There's utility. You can mono the bass if you want under a certain frequency, and you can change the width. What I actually think is a lot more interesting is this one here. It is the effects for the splitters. So you can now split the frequency range into, say, lower, higher, lower, mid, higher, and then mid, side. And what you can do is, let's just go lower, higher for now. You can set the boundary of what frequency it's going to cut things into. So say I just wanted reverb. You have to put it in the right place. So say I only wanted frequencies over a certain frequency to go to my reverb. So I could set it that everything over 1000 hertz is considered high. So now what you should be able to hear, it's split at 200, but if I turn that up, you can only hear the higher frequencies going through to that plate reverb. If we make it louder. Hear that? It's only the higher frequencies in the reverb. Now we've got a bit lower. So that's really cool. So you can have certain effects. Say we only wanted the bode to go on the low, from the low frequencies. So everything under 500 hertz will go to this bode, nothing higher. So let's find the bode. Where are you? So say we only wanted to shift those lower frequencies for some reason. You can now separate the effects into high and low frequencies, which is really cool. Okay, so my battery just died and my lighting just died, so I better start wrapping this up. So that is the effects. You've got the splitter in there, which is really cool. I really like that. So you can send your low frequencies to one place, your high frequencies to one place, and you're kind of like a multi-band effects processor, I guess. Which is really, really cool. And this is just on the main channel as well, so I could send stuff to a bus as well. So let's say I want a reverb bus. Let's go for a big reverb. So if I go back to the mixing tab, what I can do is I can send this one to bus 1. Change the volume. And I could, in theory, not have anything on my main by bypassing them all there. Okay, so what you're listening to there is the bus channel ringing out with that big reverb I just put on. So that's really cool. And on bus 2, I could have something different. I'm just going to use the factory to save time. I could have some sort of distortion. Let's go for dirty lows. So if I go back to the mixer tab, and now I send to bus 2 a bit. There we go. the main down. And that just gives you an idea of the flexibility available now in Serum 2. I think that's really, really cool. So you can have effects on your main channel and you can have effects on a bus 1 and bus 2. That's really, really cool. The matrix, pretty much exactly the same as before. I haven't seen anything too different in here. Just from an initial look, this looks pretty much exactly the same as before. Inverting an auxiliary source, I think that might be a new button. But yeah, pretty much the same. You can bypass them here, which is quite easy. But yeah, I think that's everything. Global controls. Fairly similar as before. Can change some things here. Haven't looked at this yet, so maybe someone in the comments, if you're much further ahead than me, you can explain to me what those are doing. Haven't read this part of the manual yet, but yeah, it looks fairly similar. Cool. So that is everything that I've discovered that is new about Serum 2 so far. I'm sure there's loads of stuff I've mixed. Like I didn't even look into the edit tables, so actually let's do that quickly. So if I go into the wavetable, so that's cool that you can see all the different bins moving around. So it looks fairly similar. We've got the same similar brush types in here. Yeah, it looks fairly similar. Maybe some new things in here, I think. It looks a bit nicer. You can enter the formulas still. Oscillators, ABC. Okay, so the window there looks a bit nicer, a bit cleaner. I've not delved into it too much yet. So there you have it. Those are all the new features that I've discovered. I'm sure there's loads more. So here are my thoughts. I think it's an amazing sounding synth. It's got a load of routing possibilities that are cool. I love the fact that it's now also capable of granular and spectral synthesis. I have a confession to make. I always thought logicpro's stock synthesizer Alchemy was a secret weapon because it had wavetable or virtual analog. Spectral had granular. Now that Serum 2 has all of these additional features, the spectral and the granular in particular, yeah, I think it overtakes Alchemy. For me, that is high praise. I think it sounds really good. I think there's so much sound design capabilities here. I love the new LFOs. There's loads of presets to dive through. The extra filter will make a huge difference as well, and the new effects, and especially splitting out those effects. That's really cool. So yeah, a lot of fun to be had here. And because YouTube's very smart, it's probably now recommending this video. Check it out and I'll see you on another video. Thanks for watching and take care.